I have blacked out grammar because we are done with grammar for now. And now we're going to do teaching vocabulary. We're going to work on teaching vocabulary. Thank you for the feedback, Albertina. Teaching vocabulary. In this lesson, it's going to be one of the shortest ones. And we're going to look at an introduction and then what it means to know a word and then strategies of teaching grammar. It's going to be really simplified, very simple. Okay? Introduction. So the other half that we're going to look at is still form-focused instruction, but of vocabulary specifically. And vocabulary is the thousands of lexical building blocks that are available to the average user of a language. So that is what vocabulary is about. So the number of words that you, lexical buildings, building blocks that a person have within their capacity and capability, basically. All right. And then as we consider vocabulary teaching, we have to be reminded again that lexical items are basics for all the 4 skills, which means vocabulary in itself is not a skill, just like grammar in itself is not a skill, because we look at skill as the skill comes in the efficient storage. So a skill needs competency and it also needs some sort of performance. You cannot say that you are competent in vocabulary. What does that mean exactly? You need other skills, either reading, writing, speaking. What is the other one? Reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And then grammar, vocabulary is all built in these 4 skills. Okay? Yes, we're going to move on. So what does it then mean to know a word? Because vocabulary here, we are looking at it in terms of words. Okay? What does it mean to know a word? So there are 8 components. Noonan, a book that I've shared with you, they mentioned 8 components or 8 elements that are essential in knowing a word. So the first one that we have is the meaning of the word. So what does the word mean? Are there multiple meanings? Are there connotation, so implied meaning that is not explicit towards the word that you are looking at? Okay. And then the second element is the written form of that word. What does the word look like? How is the word spelled in writing? All right. Okay. And then spoken form. So what does the word sound like? And then how is the word pronounced? Do you understand? So that is the third element. And then the fourth element that we have is grammar behavior, which tackles in what pattern does the word occur. Okay, that is the grammar pattern. Collocation is what words are often used before or after the word. So the combination of words, like how do you combine that word and what is the common way? For example, we say salt and pepper. That is collocation most of the time. You don't go like pepper and salt. Hardly. We go like salt and pepper. True or false. We don't go false or true. Do you understand? That's what we mean by collocation, just as a simple example. Are there certain words we must use with this word? Okay, so that is all part of collocation. And then register. Is the word a formal word or is it an informal word? Where can I expect to hear it or use it? Like what context? Formal context or informal context? Next, the 7th element, the association. How does the word relate to other words? Okay, now that is an association. What word could you use in place of this word? So this could also come with a synonym, basically the association that the word has. And then number 8, frequency. Is this word common? Do we use it often? Or is it a very rare word that people don't use it as much because it's considered as an old-fashioned word? All right. So these are the elements that you have to think about when you're talking about a word. And then when you are talking to your learners about it, you can talk about these aspects as well. But usually we don't look at one word in isolation as we have seen. And then you also see from the strategies that you cannot really teach a single word in isolation. Do you have questions so far about the elements that you have to consider when you are teaching grammar? No questions. Okay, that's very clear. Let's move on so that we use our time efficiently. Now we are going to look at 4 strategies of teaching grammar. Just 4 strategies, and they are not the only strategies. We have a lot of strategies, but we're just going to look at 4 of them. So these 4 guidelines for communicative, by the way, it's communicative because even with our syllabus, how we teach should be in a communicative way, all right? And then employing other skills, a number of skills, integrating them when you're teaching vocabulary. So what are these 4 guidelines? What are these 4 strategies that you can use when you're teaching grammar? The first one is allocate specific class time to vocabulary learning. All right? Allocate time for vocabulary learning during your class time. And then number 2, help learners. Okay, we have got students there, but help learners to learn vocabulary in context. And then number 3, engage in unplanned vocabulary teaching. And then number 4, encourage learners, those students here, to develop word learning strategies. If we had enough time. All right, so for the next 5 minutes, let's look at what you think we are going to cover in the lesson under these strategies. We'll start with the first one. Allocate specific class time to vocabulary learning. What do you think that is going to explain to us? What is that going to entail? What do you think that means? You can write or you can raise your hand and then give your answer. And then you can just put in phrases there. What do you think this part is going to contain? What do you think are we going to cover? All right, we have got Claudia's hands up, but I would also like you to write down, what do you think are we going to cover under here? What are we going to cover? Yes, Claudius, go ahead.
Must I write or must I just answer?
You can answer quickly and shortly. And briefly.
Okay. Here let me see. It's a lesson that you are going to let me say that you have took to teach at a certain time.
Okay. Teach what?
Let me say.
Teach what? What are you going to teach?
Let me say, any lesson that you took to teach at a certain time.
Okay.
The specific time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you for your contribution, Claudius. Other ideas? I see that Mark is writing. I wish Mark had a mic, and then he can just speak. Mark, go on. Please keep writing. So allocate specific class time to vocabulary learning. What does that mean in other words? What does that phrase mean? What do you think are we going to cover under that subtopic? And then number 2, all right. So if deep words are included there, should be time to explain them to the learners during the classroom. Yes, of course. So in other words, from what Mark has mentioned and also Claudius, Claudius mentioned about a specific time within your lesson that you need to concentrate on vocabulary learning. Don't just say, we are going to concentrate on the 4 skills, listening, speaking, writing, and reading, but also make time to look at specific vocabulary words. And then we'll look into details about that. All right, moving on. Okay, maybe I shouldn't say anything to this point because we have got 3 minutes. I just want you to tell me, number 2, what do you think this lesson is going to be about? This topic is going to be about. Help students to learn vocabulary in context. What do you think that means? All right. And then for number 3, engage in unplanned vocabulary teaching. What do you think that means? And then number 4, encourage students to develop word learning strategies. What does that mean? And you can write, it doesn't matter if it's 2, 3, or 4, but your answer should be like, okay, I'm going to talk about number 4. Number 4 means that da 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 da, and then you post, so that we just use these minutes to predict what we think we are going to cover in the next class, because it's almost time. What do you think are we going to cover in number 2? Predict what are we going to talk about here. So explain what you think this means. All right. Number 3, what does that mean? Predict what we are going to cover there. Number 4, what does it mean? What are we going to cover? All right. So go ahead, write, everybody. You're welcome to write. Give your ideas. There's always it's always good to try. Right or wrong answer. Yes, Regina. Just keep writing. Yes, Regina, go ahead, my dear.
I think number 2, you have to let the learners to know how to use the vocabulary in sentences, or
yes,
to show their meanings.
Okay, in sentences. Okay, thank you very much. Yes. What do you have? Define new concept and use them in sentences to show its usage. Thank you very much, Selma. I can't hear. Oh, I'm sorry. Elizabeth, please. All right, number 2, Mark, we have got to use words to show learners how words can be used in different ways by using sentences. Okay, thank you very much. Anything else? Okay, we covered number 2. Let's go on to number 3 and number 4. What we have? What do you think? We have a class of 12 people. Why aren't you participating? What do you think? Yes, okay, we've got France. Learners learn new words contextually. Yes. How about 3 and 4? We are just predicting. What is the lesson going to be about?
Can I try?
Yes, go ahead, Claudius. And keep writing, even if somebody... Okay, hold on, Claudius, 1 second. Even if somebody's mentioned an idea that you are saying, just keep writing, finish, and then you send it, okay? Yeah, go ahead, Claudius.
Okay, unplanned vocabulary teaching. These are lessons that you give, let me say, when you are like, for example, giving example to the learners on what maybe something that you want to compare to specific word of what you are learning, then so that they can get that picture. So maybe if you are teaching them grammar, then you show them the way they should talk, and they should, like, in the outside, which is actually not just in school but also in the outside world, like maybe when they engage in offices or so.
All right, thank you for your contribution. Thank you very much for your contribution. What do other people think? I saw that there were a number of people typing, but now I'm just only seeing Mark. All right, yes, Johannes, go ahead.
I think with number 3, it is something to do with we are going to give the learners the chance to predict the meaning of the vocabulary in the text.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your contribution. Like, I appreciate any contribution, because now we are just predicting. All right, we will verify later. Number 4, share techniques share techniques with learners that can help them build their vocabulary, like spelling competition and more. All right, thank you very much for your contribution. Any other contributions? Because we are just predicting. All right, we are just predicting. Tomorrow's class, we'll see this. We'll verify these points. Okay. Selma, go ahead. You were typing. Did you finish? All right. If she's not writing anymore, we'll come to the end of the class. So we'll see the points that you have given. We'll think about them, and then we'll compare them to what we are really going to cover in the lesson. So this is just to prepare you. It's an introduction to this part. Okay. To think about it, and then when you are going to listen, you are going to verify if what you thought was correct or it was not correct. And if it's not correct, and then you correct it in the process, like you gain knowledge regarding these topics. Okay, so that's all. We have come to the end of the lesson. It's a very short one, and then we'll continue with our lesson tomorrow on grammar teaching. Okay, do you have not grammar but vocabulary teaching? We're going to look at the strategies for teaching vocabulary. Do you have any other questions? Yes or no today so far? No, thank you, Mark. No. All right, with that, we have come to the end of the lesson. You have a lovely day, and I'll see you tomorrow at 8:30. Okay, take care. Bye.
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 Right. Regina, you're writing. I think you have a mic. You can always ask, my dear. Or if you prefer writing, you can also write. Okay, go ahead.
No, ma'am. Just that I almost asked that is it grammar teaching or vocabulary teaching? Because you just keep on saying grammar.
I know, because we've been talking about grammar for a long time. It's now engraved in my brain, and I keep saying that it's not grammar but vocabulary. But thank you, darling.
Yeah,
you.
I get it.
Okay, thank you. Bye, everyone.
Right.
Yeah, I'm gonna exit the
Bye.
lesson. Okay, bye.